16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bid yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bid ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio hununua. Quickbid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
People disapprove. I know you are jealous because he has it better than you. Maybe it's high time you also need to look around for a suit, eh? Your jealous is becoming too loud.
Quit your unsolicited advice, but you should remember that Queen A has it all under control, or otherwise. Dude.
I think sane men should stay single for the rest of your life. Kinyanjui, what do you say?
Tulu, my brother.
Hyena and Ngoda now of lanes. Wonders shall never end.
Who are you calling hyena and God? You small person. Stay out of my life.
Bara, you better start talking.
Hey, what do you mean? We were going to talk anyway.
How much?
Classmates, every Saturday on KBC.
Unichukulie kwa mfano ndani ya matatu.
Unajua Saturday yaandikangu hivyo.
Ni nini wewe?
Yaani mtu mzima na miaka zake hizo miaka zote. Mtu ajui kujua kuandika note. Note tu peke yake. Kusoma kweli inasaidia.
Kijana, nini nakusumbua na mimi?
Nauliza ni ungwana.
Don't you dare insult me, okay?
Mama Angel,
don't you
point
dare.
me.
Oh, please. Let the dead bury.
They are dead, right?
Hizo viatu zake zinanuka. Songea huko. Haya. Kwani ni vita? Ni nini wewe? Yaani wataka kumpiga. Huwezi mpiga, umpige nini?
Twelve days into the first month, the year 2021. A very good afternoon. You're just in time for the latest happenings in the country and beyond borders. KBC Lunchtime News begins right now. We got news on what was happening as schools continued with their phase of reopening for physical learning for learners. Several stakeholders from government are visiting several schools just to assess their status with regards to the implementation of COVID-19 safety protocols. A lot is emanating from these tours. We got details about what they are finding out. Of course, also matters politics shaping our comprehensive news bulletin. My name is serfine Achieng Ouma and our sign language interpreter is Lucy Mwaura. And we begin our coverage along the corridors of justice. This particular morning, former Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko, through his lawyer Harrison Kinyanjui, moved to court to seek conservatory orders prohibiting the Speaker Benson Mutura from holding office as the acting governor and making decisions in this key position. Let's get more details about this particular case. Sarafina Robi has been following up this issue for us, and she's joining us now live just to give us a breakdown on what this, request by the former governor is all about. A very good afternoon, Sarafina. What can you tell us?
Indeed, a very good afternoon, Serfine. You're coming to you live from the Milimani Low Court here in Nairobi, whereby, as you had stated earlier on, we were following up on a case whereby the former Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko, through his lawyer Harrison Kinyanjui, had moved to court, whereby they're seeking conservatory orders, seeking to prohibit the acting governor, who is the Speaker of the Nairobi County Assembly, Benson Mutura, from conducting or acting in any manner as the substantive governor of Nairobi, and also citing a letter dated the 6th of January, whereby they're also seeking conservatory orders prohibiting him from appointing or dismissing anyone as the substantive governor of Nairobi, and also they're seeking conservatory orders prohibiting the Nairobi County Assembly from appointing or vetting and approving Anne Kananu Mwenda, who had been nominated earlier on, from being vetted or approved as the Nairobi deputy governor, whereby there have been a lot of submissions and oppositions in regards to this, whereby also we've seen another case that has been brought to court before Justice Anthony Murima, whereby there also Omtata had also brought another case just in regards to the appointment of Anne Kananu Mwenda as the Nairobi deputy governor, whereby he was also seeking for that not to happen, for the vetting not to happen, but they've given a lot of submissions, with some saying that it should be given more time for the hearing, given that also the vetting is scheduled according to a notice that had been published in the national dailies, but the vetting of Anne Kananu Mwenda as the Nairobi deputy governor had been scheduled to happen on Friday, which will be on the 15th from 9 a.m. Whereby also we are now waiting for directions from Justice Anthony Murima, whereby he's just signed off from the virtual hearing that was ongoing right now, saying that he'll come back at 4 p.m. to give a ruling, or rather directions, on what will happen in terms of the ruling on determining whether the vetting of Anne Kananu Mwenda as the Nairobi deputy governor will be granted or will be stopped. Also, some of the other cases that we've been following up involve a case involving the Aurora and Kimorer Dam, whereby the former Principal Secretary Kamau Thuge, the DPP has dropped charges against the former Principal Secretary Kamau Thuge, and also the former Principal Secretary of Wildlife Susan Koech, in a matter involving the Aurora and Kimorer Dam, whereby multi-billion shillings were lost in the procurement of the construction of the two dams, which are the Aurora and Kimorer Dam, and therefore the two will now be state witnesses, but they'll be testifying against the former Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury, Henry Rotich, whereby Henry Rotich had last month come to court, whereby he was saying that he's being accused unlawfully, given that he's facing charges, whereby he's accused of allegedly flouting procurement measures or procurement procedures in approving for the funds that were to be used for the construction of the Aurora and Kimorer Dam. Also, we're following up on another case that is to come virtually, which involves Okia Omtata activist Okia Omtata, who had come to court, or had moved to court seeking or challenging the appointment of the Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mbetemwilu as the acting Chief Justice, which is a case of Okia Omtata versus the Judicial Service Commission that is coming up for here. The ruling whereby Justice Anthony Murima will be giving a ruling later on after the case that he's handling right now. We'll be able to give you the details of the ruling on what will transpire in regards to that, and also the directions that Justice Anthony Murima will give in reference to the vetting of Anne Kananu Mwenda that is scheduled for the 15th of January, which will be on Friday from 9 a.m. Given that also earlier on last week we had seen that the High Court had also barred or rather suspended a notice that had been filed by the Electoral Commission that had scheduled the elections or by-elections of Nairobi governor. Well, these are just matters concerning the Nairobi County and the appointment and elections of the Nairobi governor, the deputy governor. We'll be bringing you all that in our subsequent bulletin after we get the directions on the ruling from Justice Anthony Murima at 4 p.m. and also a ruling that we're expecting any moment from now in regards to a case pertaining activist Achieng Ouma and the Judicial Service Commission. Back to you, Safina Achieng. I'm Sarafina Robi.
Thank you, Serafina Robi, for that detailed reporting coming to us from the Milimani Law Courts this morning. She's following up on quite a number of cases, including the case that was filed in court today by former Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko, who is seeking conservatory orders prohibiting the Nairobi County Assembly Speaker Benson Mutura from holding himself as the substantive governor and also acting in that capacity, making decisions such as appointing, reappointing and dismissing persons. And of course also this case touches on the upcoming vetting process of the Anne Kananu, who was appointed for the position of deputy governor. She says that they are awaiting the direction that will be given by Justice Anthony Murima over this particular matter. We will be giving you more details about this. Now, let's focus on other issues touching on matters politics. A section of Mount Kenya region residents now want Deputy President William Ruto to resign for the sake of the stability in government. Speaking in Kabati, Murang'a County, Bishop David Gakuyo said the war of words between the president and his deputy has brought the presidency to disrepute and risk derailing the Jubilee development agenda. Now, meanwhile, in Nakuru Town West, the Member of Parliament Samuel Arama has accused Governor Lee Kinyanjui of insincerity and dishonesty in the just concluded Jubilee Party nominations for the London ward.
The widening rift between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto is now a matter of concern to some residents of the Mount Kenya region.
Huyu mdogo wetu wa president, deputy president, afol venye Uhuru Muigai anasema, huyu president wetu venye anasema, ili amani iweze kutimia kwa nchi yetu.
Kulingana na vita yenye inaendelea kwa president na mdogo wake, kunaonekana kama wanaweza kaa wakiwa wawili, wasikizane vizuri, wananchi wanaweza kuwa hawana vita. Lakini saa hizi imejengwa kwanza hapa Central. President ako na watu wake, naibu wake ako na watu wake.
Bishop David Gakuyo has asked the deputy president to quit the government if he is dissatisfied with the country's leadership.
Aacha kutumia mali za serikali kupinga serikali, na aende kwa wajiko akaombe kura, aende aseme no, kwa maana analeta kitu kinaitwa confusion. Kwanza sisi Mount Kenya tuko na confusion kubwa sana.
The ongoing debate on constitutional review has created some disquiet within the Jubilee Party, with supporters of the deputy president alleging that it is being used to scatter William Ruto's presidential ambitions. Meanwhile, Nakuru Town West MP Samuel Arama has accused Governor Lee Kinyanjui of insincerity and dishonesty in the just concluded Jubilee Party nominations for the London ward.
I was surprised to see county government vehicles everywhere dishing out the money, campaigning for a particular candidate. The governor could be a very dishonest person, because we agreed and said, we even said we would be the returning officer, and we gave him the name as our leading person from the county, so that they can pass the name to Nairobi.
Francis Joroge emerged victorious in the party primaries with 868 votes against his close competitor Bernard Maina Kariuki alias Gatuso, who garnered 692 votes. The newly launched United Democratic Alliance is also expected to unveil its candidate for the March 4th by-election. Kevin Washira, Lunchtime News.
Now to Mandera, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission says it remains committed to bringing lasting peace between two warring communities in Mandera County. NCAC Commissioner Abdi Aziz Ali says the commission is actively engaged in dialogue with the Agare and Murule communities in a bid to solve all outstanding issues between the two groups. Tribal conflict between the two communities has turned deadly over the years, leading to loss of life and property.
The National Cohesion and Integration Commission and local leaders are rooting for elusive peace between the Gare and Murule communities that are so far left scores dead and property destroyed.
We have been doing that kind of dialogue for some time now, almost several months, 9 months, 8 months. And we give dialogue a chance, and we asked the two communities to solve their problem themselves, and that's the best way to solve conflict between communities, because they are the shoe wearers and they know their problems, and peace is to their good.
NCIC says leaders must play major roles in the inculcation of lasting peace in the region.
They reached a point where they couldn't agree on an item. And when there was that deadlock, they asked for an external arbiter, and they chose this Sheikh Muhammad Abdi Omal to arbitrate them. He has done it before, and they believe in him.
Mandera County Governor Ali Roba has however denied claims that politicians might be involved in the current interclan feuds in the region.
Kile tunatafuta ni kutafuta njia ambayo mzozano kuhusu ardhi ya malisho, mzozano kuhusu boda katika constituency na mambo yote ambayo yanahusiana baina ya jamii hawa wawili tunaweza kutatua in a more permanent way.
Area leaders called on the government to work together with local elders to conclusively offer solutions to interclan communal skirmishes in the region.
Now moving on, Amani National Congress Party has endorsed calls for rotational presidency. ANC Deputy Party Leader Ayub Savula says the move would foster unity for the nation. At the same time, the party cautioned politicians against inciting Kenyans, even as they called on the church to bar politicians from using the pulpits to engage in politics.
To thank the President for having issued a strong statement indicating that it's the time for another tribe to take lead of this country. Indeed, we agree with his gesture that Kenya needs fresh blood from a fresh community. And this statement amounts to our belief that it was a direct endorsement of Honorable Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi as the compromise candidate for 2022 general election. Tuko tayari kudefend president. Tunaomba wale wa Central nao wakae tayari, kwa sababu mtu mmoja hawezi tembea Kenya kila wakati akitusi watu.
Sisi viongozi wa mkoa wa Magharibi Western Kenya tunaunga hiyo kabisa mkono, tukisema rais alisema ukweli, na kama Deputy President anaona rais ameongea vibaya, yeye walichagulia na yeye pamoja, yeye kama running mate wake, na akiona hiyo iwezekani yeye ajihuzuru.
So ile maneno Uhuru alisema pale Mululu kuhusu rotational presidency, we fully associate ourselves, because we cannot continue to live in a country where a few communities are going to rule forever while the others are going to escort them in ruling this country.
Now on to matters education. The government has sustained the pressure to ensure 100% of learners report to school, even as senior government officials read the Riot Act to parents who have kept school-going girls with pregnancies out of school. Permanent Secretary Post Training and Skills Development in the Ministry of Education, Alfred Cheruyot, who was in Trans Nzoia County, warned that all children must go back to school regardless of the challenges they are facing. Trans Nzoia County recorded more than than 11,000 teenage pregnancies since the start of the long holiday due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Cheruyot says that so far 65% of children have reported back to school, adding that the Ministry of Education officials, in collaboration with security officers, are currently searching for children who are still out of school.
Because education in this country is mandatory, it is free, so no one has a reason, and that's why we are here today. We want to establish those children who are not reported in school. Then we have to find out what's, and I can assure you, any child who is at home for no good reason, action will be taken.
And on that note, allow us to take a very short break right here on KBC Lunchtime News. Don't go too far. We are coming back with much more.
Muone Faisal ndio huyu aliwekelea bid ya TV na ndio hii anaenda nayo. Faisal, hebu tuambie ni vipi uliwekelea bid?
Nilienda kwenye website ya QuickBid. Nikatizama nikachagua kuwekelea kwenye TV. Sasa niliwekelea mara 3. Nikaja kwa mshindi, nikakutana bid yenye imenifanya kwa niko mshindi ilikuwa ni 168. Sasa leo nimekaitwa nikaja nichukue TV yangu.
Haya Faisal, mali yako. Tukusaidie. Asante.
Jiunga na QuickBid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bid yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16, kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bid yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bid ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio hununua. QuickBid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Unichukulie kwa mfano ndani ya matatu.
Unajua Saturday yaandikangu hivyo.
Ni nini wewe?
Yaani mtu mzima na miaka zake hizo miaka zote. Mtu ajui kujua kuandika note. Note tu peke yake. Kusoma kweli inasaidia.
Kijana, nini nakusumbua na mimi?
Nauliza ni ungwana.
Don't you dare insult me, okay?
Mama Angel,
don't you
point
dare.
me.
Oh, please. Let the dead bury.
They are dead, right?
Hizo viatu zake zinanuka. Songea huko. Haya. Kwani umepita? Ni nini wewe? Yaani wataka kumpiga. Huwezi mpiga, umpige nini?
The battle for the last 16 places of the DFB Pokal, better known as German Cup, is on. As former champions Bayer Leverkusen and Eintracht Frankfurt face off, hoping to book their place against Otto's SN. Watch it unfold live on your true sports partner KBC Channel 1 on Tuesday, the 12th of January from 10:45 p.m.
Welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us. Remember, we are streaming this live for you on Facebook and on YouTube. Continue engaging us online. My name is Serfine Achieng once again, and our sign language interpreter is Lucy Mwaura. Now moving on, nurses are accusing governors of delaying their resumption to work by refusing to sign an already negotiated and concluded return to work formula whose negotiations they are party to. The Kenya National Union of Nurses Deputy Secretary General Maurice Opetu says the meeting planned for Monday by the Council of Governors to pave way for the signing of the return to work formula did not materialize. At the same time, they are calling on their members to stay put, even as they appealed to the president to intervene in the matter and save the ailing health sector and Kenyans in need of public health care.
And as you have already seen, the management of clinical officers strike. They signed a return to work formula which was disowned by the Council of Governors. It's unfortunate that even the initial signing of the return to work formula for the nurses union has not taken place, despite the fact that the issues we agreed on all the issues. And this is a clear indication that health sector in this country has not been taken with the seriousness it deserves.
The Council of Governors initially told the public that the issues the nurses, the clinical officers, and other health workers were raising were issues that could be dealt with by the national government. The national government, through the CS Minister of Health, made the engagement and in their communication indicated that they were able to look for the monies through the treasury to actually fund the return to work agreement. And that is why the Minister for Health went ahead to sign the return to work agreement with the clinical officers. Remember, he's the principal person to table the budget adjustment at the level of the cabinet when it is supposed to go to the assembly, then to the treasury for funding. This is the engagement that the national government has agreed to make, and make sure that the funding is there for the return to work agreement. But now we are seeing the Council of Governors, which is changing the goalpost again, saying that we should now engage the county public service boards, which do not generate any funds.
Now, away from the paralysis in the health sector, I take you to Kiambu County. A road construction project that will pave way for easy access to Dagoretti Slaughterhouse, the main bus terminus and the market, is set to be back on track following a pledge to inject more funds to complete the project. Kiambu Governor James Nyoro, who visited the site, says 365 million shillings has been set aside to complete the project, which was delayed owing to wrangles. At the same time, he pointed out that the county government will compensate landowners who were affected by the construction, with plans already underway to allocate funds for compensation in the next budget. The road has been a headache to residents and traders owing to its dilapidated state.
Vile iko changamoto ni kutoa vifaa kutoka kule kwa slaughterhouse na kwa masoko. Hii ni soko kubwa sana kwa sababu imeunganisha Nairobi na Kiambu. Kwa hivyo hizi barabara zinatengenezwa zitafaidi sana watu hapa sana.
Kwa hivyo tukawa na 367 million ya kutengeneza barabara hapa, kuweka mataa na kutengeneza drainage. Tumeongea na tumesikizana na tumekubaliana kuwa kutoka kesho tutatuma survey, tutatuma road valuer na tutatuma National Road Commission wakuje wa evaluate, wajue kila mtu atapewa compensation ya kiasi gani. Alafu tutaandikania barua tuseme hata kama hawatalipwa hii financial year, watalipwa financial year ambao tutaanza kutoka Julai.
And two opposing factions of artisanal miners have clashed over the ongoing mining exploration at MACALDER mines in Nyatike, Migori County. The two groups allegedly lacked consensus over the support and continuation of the ongoing evacuations at the mineral-rich MACALDER mines, triggering violence.
At MACALDER mines in Nyatike, Migori County, tension remains high in the mines after what began as a peaceful protest took a turn, resulting in two factions clashing over the ongoing mining exploration in the region. One group was up in arms, demonstrating what it terms as the influx of foreigners and tycoons whom it accuses of reaping from the gaping death traps. The peaceful protest turned chaotic when the group that was demonstrating clashed with its counterparts who are in support of the ongoing excavations at the mineral-rich MACALDER mines. The MACALDER Mine Savings and Credit Cooperative Society Chairman Felix Okwanyo says measures have been put in place to embark on land restoration.
During the restoration, there's some good material that we cannot throw away. Like for example, uliona hao vijana ngangana pale wakichukua hizi blue sapphire. Hizi blue sapphire wakichukua long one moja wanausa 1,500 or 2,000. So when the land was raised, meaning hatukuwa na uwezo ya kupata hizi vitu. And again there's some kuna mchanga mzuri yenye pia tukipata at least makes the place to be lively.
From today, clear it. Until those people will come and tell you they are organized enough to work there. If they are not organized, let nobody come look for sympathy from you. Clear that hill.
In 2019, Environment and Lands Court in Migori ruled the suspension of mining operations at the MACALDER mines in efforts to restore the land as well as preserve the environment after 6 people perished while on a mining expedition. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Jackie Wambiru.
And elsewhere, residents of Windridge Estate in Juja, Kiambu County have taken to the streets to protest against a building project in the area. The residents are accusing a senior government official of using his influence to construct high-rise buildings in the area without necessary approval. Yusufara reports.
A deputy county commissioner is on the spot of an alleged construction of apartment blocks in Juja, Kiambu County. Residents allege that the developer has refused to comply with requisite bylaws.
Kwa ile barua ama kwa ile mpangilio wote ambao unafaa kuwekwa, developer wa hii site hana change of user, hana approvals.
There is no compliance. As you see this area, there is not even sewer to support these 12 units. There will be 6 units and others on top. There is no system to support that. And there are normally guidelines on approval that if you are doing such a structure, there should be this space for parking, there are those allowances. So this building, as we speak, has no approved plan. And despite a stop order, which was given on 4th of January, that's Monday, the developer has continued.
When you imagine what happens with the flat and you have escaped where there is flats, then you feel disappointed because your investment was not about the commercial residence. It was about the residential estate, which also goes far and beyond about bringing up children in good neighborhoods.
The locals are also accusing the Deputy County Commissioner of prevailing upon area chiefs to illegally oversee the controversial project.
I found our guard, our security guard, the policemen were holding him like this, like he was at their mercy, and he was ordered to open the gate because the owner of this plot needed to bring his materials because he needed to continue with his construction.
The Deputy County Commissioner has however denied any wrongdoing, maintaining that the ongoing project has met all requisite requirements. Yusuf Farah, Channel 1 News.
We are going to be taking another break. Stay with us. We still have more coming up. Matters business, matters sports still lined up ahead for you. Do stay with us.
Muone Faisal ndio huyu aliwekelea bid ya TV na ndio hii anaenda nayo. Faisal, hebu tuambie ni vipi uliwekelea bid?
Nilienda kwenye website ya QuickBid. Nikatizama nikachagua kuwekelea kwenye TV. Sasa niliwekelea mara 3. Nikaja kwa mshindi, nikakutana na bid yenye imenifanya kwa niko mshindi ilikuwa ni 168. Sasa leo nikaitwa nichukue TV yangu.
Haya Faisal, mali yako.
Tukusaidie.
Asante. Iko heavy.
Jiunga na QuickBid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bidi yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16, kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bidi yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bidi ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio ununua. QuickBid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Get ready for a 3 weeks Africa Football Feast as the new year kicks off with the 6th edition of the African Nations Championship in Cameroon. From the 16th of January to the 7th of February 2021, 16 teams from the continent will be spread across 3 cities as the best players from domestic leagues showcase their talents live on KBC Channel 1. Let's support our own.
Welcome back, and now we take you across the borders. The Federal Bureau of Investigations is warning of the possibility of armed protests being held across the U.S. in the days before Joe Biden is sworn in as president. There are reports of armed groups planning to gather at all 50 state capitals and in Washington, D.C. in the run-up to his 20th January inauguration. The fierce Kama's security plans are tightened for the event itself.
Joe Biden has said he was not afraid to take oath of office at the ceremony at the Capitol. Both Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris are expected to be sworn in there, only 2 weeks after it was the site of a deadly raid by radical supporters of President Donald Trump opposing the election results. Security officials are resolute there will be no repeat of the breach seen on 6th January when thousands of pro-Trump supporters were able to break into the grounds of the complex where members of Congress were voting to certify the election results. Officials say up to 15,000 National Guard troops could be made available to fortify the event. Law enforcement around the country say to be bracing for the possibility of further violence in the days before Joe Biden takes office. Elsewhere, the Sriwijaya airplane which crashed into the sea on Saturday had passed on airworthiness inspection last month, officials have said. Flight SJ182, which grounded between March and December last year, resumed commercial flights on 22nd December. Preliminary findings also show the aircraft was still functioning and intact before it crashed. The plane had 62 people on board when it plunged into the Java Sea. The cause of the crash remains unknown. On Monday, Indonesian police identified its first victim, Oki Bisma, a 29-year-old flight attendant on the plane. Indonesia's transport ministry on Tuesday said the Boeing 737 had been grounded during the pandemic and passed inspection on 14th December. Meanwhile, Ugandans will on Thursday vote in a general elections after a campaign marred by violence in which dozens of people have been killed. Human rights groups have accused security forces of using excessive force to break up opposition rallies during the campaign. But the government says the strong measures are necessary to ensure people comply with the ban on large crowds imposed to tackle the coronavirus pandemic. Museveni is one of the longest-serving presidents in Africa.
And now into the world of business. From the coffee sector, Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya has hinted at the dissolution of a section of ERRANT coffee cooperative societies that have been implicated in corruption cases, citing increased frustration among coffee farmers. He further noted that due to mismanagement and conflict of interest among top officials, farmers are missing out on the 3 billion cherry fund kitty set aside by the government to support coffee farmers.
Last year, the government set up a 3 billion shillings cherry advance levy fund as a revolving fund to give farmers cheap loans as they await their earnings from coffee marketers. However, due to mismanagement and conflict of interest among top officials, farmers are missing out.
Na inawezaje kuwa wewe ndio chairman kule juu, na wewe ndio chairman kwa society na unawapa hata loan ya wahitaji? Kwa nini uende kwa banki uombe pesa unalipishwa 15%, 18% na pesa iko hapa ya gharama ya chini. Na ni pesa ya serikali na imetengewa wewe.
Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya says some unscrupulous officials keen on maintaining the status quo are compelling farmers to secure expensive loans from either coffee millers or marketers and end up frustrating government's initiative that is aimed at enabling farmers access low-interest loans.
Sasa fomu zitaingia huko, bwana county commissioner na bwana DC, nataka kila society uhakikishe wamesign hiyo form. Wale hawatasaini wakilima waombe pesa au dissolve the society. Mimi nitakuja kudissolve society. Wanaona kama ni mchezo. Lakini hatutaendelea namna hii.
He further called for the investigation into operations of Rumukia Farmers Cooperative Society officials who borrowed money from Taifa Sacco by the Directorate of Criminal Investigation, sinking the farmers' outfit into debt.
Na wewe unakuwa chairman wa Taifa Sacco na wewe ndio chairman wa society. Hiyo inawezekana hiyo? Hiyo ni conflict of interest. Iwezi kuwa wewe ndio chairman wa ile inapeanwa na wewe ndio unapeana, unajipea. Na unanipea kwa niaba ya wakulima. DCI nataka investigation ifanywe hiyo haraka.
The investigations will also look into the role played by Taifa Sacco officials who authorized a release of a 60 million shillings loan that has in turn accrued interest of 100 million shillings. Regina Manyara reporting for Channel 1 Business.
Thank you, Regina, for that report. Now, moving on, supermodel Naomi Campbell is now a Magical Kenya International Tourism Ambassador after agreeing to help promote marketing of Kenya as an ideal tourism and travel destination to the world. According to the Cabinet Secretary for Tourism and Wildlife, Najib Balala, Naomi Campbell will advocate for tourism and travel internationally for the Magical Kenya brand. On her part, Naomi commended the government of Kenya for the improvement of infrastructure at the coast, including the upgrading of Malindi Airport to international standards, adding that this will boost tourism in the region. This was agreed upon during her meeting with the Cabinet Secretary for Tourism and Wildlife, Najib Balala, over the weekend. And Kenya will now benefit from the suspension of debt service obligations to the Paris Club for the 6 months period ending June 30th, 2021. The deferred repayment gave Kenya an estimate of 32.9 billion shillings in potential savings for the 6 months period.
According to data from the Central Bank of Kenya, the country's public debt grew by 0.8 trillion shillings to 7.1 trillion shillings between March 2020 and January 2021. This piling debt has seen Kenya commit more than half of the taxes to pay loans, leaving little cash for development, including construction of roads, affordable housing, and the revamping of the ailing health sector. However, having Kenya's request for debt service suspension approved by the Paris Club of Major Economies has given the state reprieve. In a statement, the Paris Club creditors have accepted to provide to the Republic of Kenya a time-bound suspension of debt service due from 1st January to 30th June 2021. Kenya is also committed to seeking from other bilateral official creditors a debt service treatment that is in line with the agreed terms of the debt service suspension initiative from the G20. According to the Paris Group, the freed-up monies are targeted at mitigating the health, economic and social impact of the COVID-19 crisis. Regina Manyara reporting for Channel 1 Business.
And elsewhere across the African continent, Facebook has shut down accounts it says are linked to the Ugandan government only days before elections for a new president and parliament. The social media giant says a network connected with the Ministry of Information had been using fake and duplicate accounts to impersonate users and boost the popularity of posts. Details of this and other stories in our Africa Business News Roundup.
In an interview, the government accused Facebook of being biased. The run-up to the election has been marred by tension and violence. After 35 years in power, President Yoweri Museveni, 76 years, is being strongly challenged by music star Bobby Wine, who is 38 and draws much of his support from young tech-savvy people. But a government spokesman Ofondo Opondo hit back, accusing Facebook of failing to adhere to natural justice and echoing suggestions by other government figures that the social network is trying to influence the election outcome. Mark Zuckerberg has long insisted that the platform he founded has to allow all forms of free speech and cannot become an arbitrator of political conversations. Telecommunications Corporation Orange has announced that its venture capital arm Orange Ventures has become a separate legal entity with an increased allocation of 350 million euros, empowering it to be more agile and competitive in seeking out and supporting the best startup talent in Africa. With offices in Paris and Dakar, Orange Ventures supports startups at all stages of maturity, from seed-stage startups in Africa and the Middle East to more mature companies in Europe and the United States, with investment tickets up to 20 million euros per financing round. And Highfly Marketing, a South Africa-based company that provides consultancy services throughout Africa's aviation industry, has launched Africa's first dedication aviation industry personal agency, Highfly Talent and Resourcing, to match airlines, aircraft maintenance providers and other aviation businesses across the continent and beyond with qualified and competent African executives and specialist talent. The new agency takes advantage of Highfly Marketing's extensive African aviation industry knowledge and contact network to provide consultative, research-based and solution-oriented sourcing services.
Now, the British government is trying to save businesses from going bankrupt, with a lockdown likely to be enforced at least until mid-February. A record 250,000 small businesses are expected to be forced to close this year without additional support from the British Treasury under the combined pressure of the COVID-19 pandemic as well as Brexit. Details of this and other stories from across the globe in our international news roundup.
Despite the UK government's recent $7.5 billion support package to try and protect jobs, most business owners still worry that the coming year might be even worse than 2020. According to a survey published on Monday by Britain's Financial Stability Board, a record 250,000 small businesses are expected to be forced to close this year without additional support from the British Treasury under the combined pressure of the COVID-19 pandemic as well as Brexit. Data from the Department of Health and Social Care on Monday showed that the country confirmed 46,169 new COVID-19 cases and 529 related deaths in the past 24 hours. Altogether, it has reported 3,118,580 confirmed cases and 81,960 deaths. Meanwhile, Ford has said it's closing its last 3 factories in Brazil, putting an end to decades of manufacturing presence in the country. The US carmaker blamed the pandemic, which is said has amplified years of poor sales and significant losses in the region. About 5,000 people, mostly in Brazil, are expected to lose their jobs. The decision is part of a global restructuring by Ford as it tries to improve financial performance. Before the COVID outbreak, Ford had announced plans to scale back in several markets, with closures in countries that included Brazil, the UK, France, Germany and Russia. It cut hundreds more jobs last year amid a downturn in car sales due to the pandemic. Finally, Republicans in the US Congress faced blowback on Monday from businesses that say they would cut off campaign contributions to those who voted last week to challenge President-elect Joe Biden's victory. The announcements by Amazon.com Inc., General Electric Co., Dow Inc., AT&T Inc., Comcast Corp., Verizon Communications Inc., American Express Co., Airbnb Inc., Cisco Systems Inc., Best Buy Co. Inc., and MasterCard Inc., among others, threaten to throttle fundraising resources for Republicans who will soon be out of power in the White House and both chambers of Congress. AT&T and Comcast, for example, are among the biggest corporate donors in Washington. The announcements are a sign that some corporate donors, which typically spread their money widely around Capitol Hill, are reassessing their strategy after supporters of President Donald Trump attacked the Capitol Hill last week in an effort to prevent Congress from formalizing Biden's victory.
And in matches sports, reigning world half marathon record holder KANDIE has announced his intention to compete in the 10,000 meters at the Tokyo Olympics. KANDIE will look to end Kenya's long run without an Olympic gold in the men's 10,000 meters, which dates back to Mexico City 1968 games, thanks to the efforts of Naftali Temu. Kenya has not won the 10,000 meters gold in 20 years since Charles Kamathi was victorious in Edmonton in 2001. KANDIE looks to end the streak at the Games, but will face stiff competition from Uganda's 5,000 meters and 10,000 meters world record holder Joshua Cheptegei. Athletics Kenya is expected to select its top track distance runners for a training camp ahead of the national trials for the Olympics. And Manchester United will welcome back hitman Edinson Cavani when they take on Burnley in their long-awaited game in hand tonight at Turf Moor. Following Liverpool's 1-0 defeat to Southampton, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's men now have the opportunity to establish an outright lead at the top of the Premier League ahead of Sunday's trip to Anfield.
United are unbeaten in their last 10 Premier League matches. The Red Devils are the only unbeaten side away from home in this season's Premier League and haven't lost any of their last 14 league games on the road. All 6 of their league away wins in this campaign have come after they conceded the opening goal. United have scored 21 goals away from home, more than any other top-flight team, but they are yet to keep a clean sheet on their travels. Bruno Fernandes, with 19 goals and 14 assists, has been directly involved in more than half of Manchester United's Premier League goals since his debut for the club early last year. Anthony Martial has scored in all 3 of his Premier League games against Burnley at Turf Moor. On the other hand, Burnley are remain to go 5 home league games unbeaten and could win 3 league games in a row at Turf Moor for the first time since January 2017. They have won only 1 of their last 25 Premier League home fixtures against established top 6 opposition, a 2-1 victory over Spurs in 2019. The Clares have scored just 9 league goals this season. Meanwhile, Wolves will host Everton in another tough Premier League encounter. Wolves have lost just 1 of their 6 home Premier League matches against Everton, winning twice and drawing 3 times. The Foxes were 3-0 victors in last season's corresponding fixture. The Toffees are in danger of losing successive league matches against Wolves for the first time since 1979.
And that's your sporting action. Now you're up to date. Thank you so much for creating time to catch the latest on KBC Lunchtime News. We really appreciate your company. My name is Achieng Ouma, and our sign language interpreter has been Lucy Mwaura. Enjoy the rest of your viewing and have a lovely afternoon.
Vera Beauty College.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College, with branches in Nairobi, Eldoret, Thika and Meru. Did you know that we are a TVET approved institution? We offer courses in fashion design, interior design in soft furnishing, event decoration, flower arrangement, event planning, hairdressing, barbering and dreadlocks, beauty therapy, makeup, nail technology, spa massages, teaching skills, TOT, solo business management, and many more. Register now and visit our website on www.verabeautycollege.com. You can also call on 0725 923 550 Nairobi branch, 0728 087 689 Eldoret branch, 0722 227428 Thika branch, 0725 000 706 Meru branch. Vera Beauty and Fashion College, a TVET-approved institution.
Muone Faisal ndio huyu aliwekelea bid ya TV na ndio hii anaenda nayo. Faisal, hebu tuambie ni vipi uliwekelea bid?
Nilienda kwenye website ya QuickBid. Nikatizama nikachagua kuwekelea kwenye TV. Sasa niliwekelea mara 3. Nikaja kwa mshindi, nikakutana bid yenye imenifanya kwa niko mshindi ilikuwa ni 168. Sasa leo nimekaitwa nikaja nichukue TV yangu.
Haya Faisal, mali yako.
Tukusaidie.
Asante.
Jiunga na QuickBid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bid yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16, kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bid yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bid ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio hununua. QuickBid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
The battle for the last 16 places of the DFB Pokal, better known as German Cup, is on. As former champions Bayer Leverkusen and Eintracht Frankfurt face off, hoping to book their place against Otto's SN. Watch it unfold live on your true sports partner KBC Channel 1 on Tuesday, the 12th of January.